be great to see fans in the stands. It'll bring a lot of energy to practice. Again, first time in a long time to have normalcy come back to practice, so really excited about that, and obviously what it means then moving towards games as well. You felt the energy in the building this morning, going through the meetings, just seeing our team together again, getting caught up on how our summers were. And again, it has a different feel than last year because we had OTAs, and so we had meetings and practices and built a foundation already through the spring, which I think is a big improvement from last season where, when we showed up at this time, we were meeting guys for the first time in months, and rookies like Justin Jefferson, hadn't been able to practice yet, and we were still learning, and we were only doing walkthroughs for a while too, so it took a while to even get going full speed. So great to be back to a more normal rhythm, and we have a good foundation built from the OTA time, and now it's about having a tremendous training camp and finding the 53 guys in the practice squad, and building the group from here. So with that, I'll take any questions you have.
You watched every snap of your professional career. You're probably done now. What's the biggest thing you learned about yourself?
I think there's a lot more to accomplish. There's a lot of work ahead, and I found watching tape just made me hungry to get back to work and improve. And I thought I gained some knowledge of sort of what's gotten me to where I am, what's gotten me to this point, and then where I still want to go.
What's that next step for Justin Jefferson?
Well, I think I've answered this question before in other ways, but Justin, if he were to have the exact same season he had last year and did it like 12 or 13 times, he's probably going to Canton, I would guess. So I'm not saying that to put pressure on him. I'm just saying when you talk about what's the next step, it's not changing who he is. It's doing it again, and then doing it again, and then doing it again. And I think it's more about consistency than it is about changing. So the challenge in football, and I've seen it happen in my journey watching guys going back to Michigan State, is don't just be a one-year wonder. Don't just be a flash for a couple years. Don't just be someone who has a good run. Be someone who can sustain it, and I think that'll be the challenge. But it's really not changing anything. It's just do it again, do it again, and do it again, and do it again, and be consistent. And I've learned how difficult that is. In my career, watching and observing just how few guys are able to do that over double-digit years. But that's what I've challenged him to do. That's what he'll be challenging himself to do. But I think the key is also don't try to change anything or reinvent yourself. You're a great player, and just keep doing it.
You touched upon having fans back, just kind of your level of excitement having them back here today and then now throughout the season.
Thrilled. It adds to the energy of practice, having fans here. We just broke our quarterback meeting, and we talked about how people are giving up vacation time to come watch us practice. I mean, that sums it up right there. Honestly, it makes coming out to practice on a 95-degree day feel like a privilege when you realize that that's what fans are doing. So, and just all the more so with game day. I mean, to be able to go out to that first preseason game and see more than a handful of people in the stands, it makes a major difference. And if anything, we got to get acclimated to that, right? Because the most we saw last year was maybe 15,000, if I remember right. So. Could take some acclimation, getting back used to the crowd noise and the energy, and you got to make sure that you can roll with that too, because that's going to definitely get the juices flowing.
Kirk, how difficult is it having a coaching switch this close to the preseason starting, and just with Rick Dennison moving into a role where he's not going to be interacting with you guys on the field? Just I know obviously such an influential voice in this offense.
I think because Phil's been around the block and is doing such a great job, it isn't a major transition. Can't say enough good things about Phil and his experience. And he coached with Bill Callahan in Washington, who I was able to work with in Washington, and so there's some similarities there. And then he goes way back even with this scheme back to Denver. He's played the position of center, so he really knows his stuff and has great command of our offense. So I think it's been a really smooth transition, and it'll be great to still have Rick in his role from a distance, being able to speak into the run game plans and pass protections and just the strategy week in and week out.
With the offensive line, how much are you hoping to learn about that group here at camp as you get the pass rush going again, and especially with a couple changes?
Yeah, I think it's part of what training camp is all about, is getting guys in here, getting the work done, giving them reps, giving them experience. During OTAs it was not full speed. It was full speed in the outside, but in the interior it was, being smart and being measured. And so now it'll be not full pads today, but we'll be getting there. But we got helmets on, we'll be going close to full speed, and we'll practice smart. But I think that higher intensity also allows for guys to really show what they can do and get pushed and be evaluated. So that's where training camp kind of ups it a notch from the spring. It's also a great hat. I love that hat, by the way.
Kirk, I know you didn't want to reveal your vaccination status during the spring. Do you ever plan to reveal it? And then also your thoughts on the protocols, vaccinated versus unvaccinated players.
Yeah, the NFL and the NFLPA are going to do everything they can to make sure that every single game gets played when it should be played. Now that we have fans in the stands, for games to get played, it's a lot more difficult to move the game, right? I mean, when it was an empty stadium, it was a little different conversation to move it to a Tuesday or a Wednesday or play the game in the afternoon or be able to move it. So, now that there's going to be fans in the stands and returning to normal, it's not quite as easy. So, they're going to have these protocols in place, and we're going to follow them and be diligent. They'll be diligent, and do our best to make sure that we're able to play all these games as they should be played.
How did the team leaders help bridge those gaps between the players and different sets of protocols just to maintain chemistry in the locker room?
Yeah. I don't even think it's a big deal. I think we just go to work, and we have so much that really commands our attention. When I go out to practice, I'm thinking about protections and coverages and blitzes and so many other responsibilities that it just kind of, the protocols have to become second nature, where you can really focus on football instead, because the time spent, energy spent on the other stuff, really is not the best way to spend your time and energy. So we got to get to a place where that stuff is second nature, and we've got good people helping us, and then we can focus on football as much as possible.
Kirk, given the fact that you had OTAs this year, and then with all the people coming back, do you have higher expectations for the offense now than you did a year ago?
Well, I think our expectations are pretty consistent year in and year out. I think we want to be a very explosive offense. We want to be highly ranked amongst the league, because you kind of compare yourself to the rest of the league by the end of the year as to where you stacked up. And we never want to enter a season and then finish the year and expect to finish the year in the bottom half of the league in certain categories. So our expectations are always high, and there's always going to be new pieces to fill in. When you lose a Riley Reef, you feel like you got to hit that reset button there. But when you lose a Stephon Diggs, you feel like you got to hit that reset button. And so every year you have those pieces you have to replace, and this year is no different.
Kirk, you talked about kind of studying